So if you guys don't mind, let's do some introductions on the immutable side. Who do we have behind the account over there?
Oh, thank you so much, Avi. I'm Ali. I'm the founder, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect, perfect. And Avi, do you want to introduce yourself as well to the community?
From Koii DePIN. I am here every week and I'm glad to be here for another. I think I have a special treat today. Melvis from Koii is here and I would love for him to give himself a brief introduction.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Melvis and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Koii. I'm leading the go-to-market strategy, and then on top of that, any other partnership negotiations and engagements around the ecosystem. Also working hand in hand with Avi on Koii Ocean and bringing the next generation of DePIN and DApp developers to the network.
Now, if I'm not wrong, I believe I've seen both you guys either at Korea Blockchain Week or just recently at Token 2049. Is that not correct?
I
Yes.
was there, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was quite the crazy time. I've actually been in Asia for the past probably like month and a half or so. So I definitely got to enjoy all the different conferences out there.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
a
great.
marathon. Yeah, it was a KBW and then Token 2049 and Solana Breakpoint right after for quite a busy time.
Oh yeah, and Breakpoint was also in Singapore right after during all the F1 business as well. Absolutely craziness trying to get anywhere in that lower part of the city. So how was it for the Koi team at Token 2049?
It was great because we got to connect with some of our investors, and more importantly, there were many projects that we were able to connect with who love what we're doing at Koii in the sense that they can utilize our technology to source data storage compute solutions and have a flexibility on choosing what means of incentivizing a network. So either in Koii tokens, KPL tokens, or tokens from other networks that they can wrap into the ecosystem. So they love that aspect. And over the course of this year, leading to next week, I'll be going through all my Telegram chats and engaging with some, and a couple have already reached out to coordinate calls and engagements to try to get the ball rolling on working with us. So definitely very fruitful.
Wow, yeah, no, it definitely sounds like you were able to make the best use of your time out there. I know everyone's telegrams have probably been filled up, especially if you were at both Korea Blockchain Week and Token 2049, and then also Solana Breakpoint. So it's pretty cool to hear what you guys have in the work. Is there anyone of those like potential partnerships that's really got you excited, Melvis?
There are a couple, but yeah, I think a couple of them were within the AI realm where they're looking to create different types of agents, AI agents, and they think that we can collaborate around that. And there was one that, those like rings that track your movements and activities. Yeah, a project around that was also interested in collaborating with us as well, which was quite interesting. So we'll see.
Anything on the health aspect is actually really cool to see brought into what DeepIn can do. So if you guys are able to get in with something like that, I know I'd definitely be interested in it. Ali, you were also in Token 2049, weren't you?
Yes, we got lucky enough to be an official sponsor as a community sponsor there, and it was maybe the best time of my life for the last 10 years. It was excellent.
What did you get to enjoy about the experience?
Really moving things forward. Like Koi, we've been building for a long time, and this was just such an amazing accelerator. When you're building something real, you really need to connect with high-level professionals. They were all there. The partnerships that we were able to get were really good. We can go into that later because it really fits into DePIN well, and it's pretty exciting. But then meeting everybody all over the world. Web3, we build bridges. We don't see borders. So everybody from all over the world that we've worked with for years, we got to all meet together. And just the energy for that was contagious. And talking about contagious, a bunch of us got sick, but it was really worth it for all the great connections we were able to make and all the people we got to see.
It's actually funny that you should say that. I feel like I must have left right before everyone got sick because I was there maybe up until I want to say the 20th, and then I finally headed out. But I was perfectly fine, healthy as could be the whole way home. So I feel bad for everyone that seemed to like at least catch it from patient zero for the Solana portion. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's totally worth it, to be honest.
Genuinely, I can say yes. It has almost always been worth it to go to these events, even if you do end up getting sick for a few days afterwards. The amount of genuine connections that you can make, and especially being in an area where there's a bunch of like-minded people, there's so many opportunities abounding, and sometimes you really just have to put your body where the opportunities are. So congratulations to you guys on that.
Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure seeing you there, Melvis.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to catch up with the broader group. And as you mentioned, it's great to see because we're always on the phones and video chats, but meeting people in person and having meetings in person is something special. So definitely a great time.
It's good to see your 3D version, not your 2D version.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of people where they think that you're only going to ever see the profile picture of a person. But once you actually get to meet these people in real life, it's a completely different experience. It feels like the deals are a bit more real. The opportunities are really at your fingertips. And honestly, getting to see some of your friends in person for the first time ever, like I got to do yet again this year, it's a really incredible experience. And it really shows you what Web3 can do.
Absolutely.
So
Especially, go ahead, please.
oh no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, especially with so much of a divided world, this conference, none of that division showed up at all. Everybody was there to work together, build, have a good time. And it just shows you how important it is to see each other in real person and so forth. So these types of events are really good to bring the best out in everyone too.
Now, I am curious, with you guys being able to spend so much time out there, do you think it's maybe changed or helped shape the way that Koi is going to be moving forward in this atmosphere?
Melva should probably speak first about that, but I saw a lot of things happening with Koi there. I was trying to get some projects that I thought would be great for Koi. I was in some of the really good penthouses, just got lucky to go to those. And a lot of people already knew Koi and they were already on your platform. So that was really good to see from my side. But Melvis, what do you think?
Oh, hey, you're back. Okay. So, yes, the question that we were actually going off of was, do you think that being able to spend that time abroad, especially in Singapore, do you think it's changed the landscape for how things are going to be working for Koi?
Well, one of the biggest things that like the largest communities running the coin nodes and engaging our is in Asia. So definitely being present and joining panels and just engaging with not just some or a few community members who were in Singapore, but also just in the region was very powerful because we're in Q4, we're planning to launch our mainnet. So being present out and about is very important. So I would say that was the biggest value we got from being around. And also with KBW, we're able to connect with the largest crypto media platform out there called Token Post. And they actually wrote an article about Koi the following week after Korea Blockchain Week. So that was great to see. After just initial meeting with the founder, they liked what we're doing and wanted to collaborate. So that was nice to see.
So it definitely sounds like being out there and being able to actually get the chance to speak with these people in person is definitely the route forward for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would like to know a little bit more about the MU Labs and Modi meetup in Singapore. Can you give us some details there?
So with Ali, Imu had a group of partners and friends in town. And since we were in town as well, we were able to all congregate and meet a restaurant that just opened up. So as we mentioned earlier, being in person is more powerful than always being virtual. So being there, got to connect with guys from Movement Labs, in addition to other investors and counterparts, not only to talk about partnerships and collaboration we're doing here, but just talk broadly about the markets and life. And then with the same thing too, the Modi team was in town, and as collaborators and partners within the Koii ecosystem, we got to connect with Pac and Matthew as well during the course of the week. Yeah, so those are the two key things: meeting people in person, talking about work, and just catching up.
I think that it's only fair, Melvis, to let people know that you're the guy in the front of the picture. It's always hard for me to put faces to PF, and it's like, oh, that's him. So when you run into people IRL, it's like, all right, we do know each other. We've talked a whole bunch, like probably more than I spoke with my spouse some days, but we never get to see each other's faces.
Yep.
Melvis was one of the stars of the show, actually. Everybody wanted to talk to you, and it was really great that we got to go. It was a Michelin star restaurant. They had a lunch tasting menu, and so it's like, we got to invite everybody. Come on. And everybody was so excited to come. The food was great. I can share some food pictures too, but the connections and everything was excellent, especially with the Movement Labs. I'm working on some integrations with them as well, so we can have some bridges across both as part of our DePIN strategy, because they're just kicking off their DePIN initiatives. And it would be really good partnerships once we can secure all the technical details. But all that came out of a lunch.
Honestly, those are some like the best opportunities. I know that myself in Action have spent many an opportunity just literally grabbing lunch with maybe a potential client or even just a friend that we've been talking to, especially abroad. You never know what you're going to learn or who you're going to end up realizing you meet in this very small world. Even if you're just ending a party or an event, a side event, and they invite you out to eat somewhere, it's always a worth it experience.
Like at 4:30 in the morning, some random Chinese place, like really authentic, that you got to actually speak Chinese to be able to order food. Yes, that was amazing.
Yes, that's actually exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah. And it's so funny. Like you think that it's just like a once in a lifetime thing, but I feel like it happens every time we go to these IRL events. It's just everybody out there is looking to grow. Like you guys were saying before, there's no animosity between people, right? There's no real competition. It's all a matter of what can we do to work together? What can we do to support each other? The disagreements kind of go away when you're in person with people. We know a lot of keyboard warriors, that's all they are. But when push comes to shove, they're going to be a lot nicer in person when they actually have to see you face to face. And I really, really do love that. Also found out that I can't handle spicy food. So thanks, Toki. Appreciate you doing that to me.
That was such an accident. Even the night where I ordered food and I felt so bad because we got peppered beef. But when they say peppered beef, I'm like, oh, okay, it's just like a stir fry dish, it's fine. No, it was legitimately so many red chili peppers just covering the whole entire thing that you had to scrape them off just so you could find the beef underneath. That was a painfully still delicious meal, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's in front of me. I got to eat it. You just might as well do it. Could not taste anything for the next 2 days, but it's still worth it. Still worth it. But hey, Toki, let's jump into this whole practical side of things. What do you think?
As far as practical decentralization, yes, I'm definitely down for it. Especially because I'd like to understand a bit more about what it even really is as far as the concept goes for practical decentralization.
And the best part is that I don't have to explain any of this because we got legends in this space right now that can actually break it down for us.
Yeah, for sure. I can take a crack at this one. No, for sure. Practical decentralization. Honestly, it's like the term we've all been waiting for. It is, I think everybody's heard like decentralization, and they're almost like, what is that? Well, that's what practical decentralization actually tries to do. It's basically a way to balance the ideals of a distributed system with actual real world function, efficiency, security, all that stuff. Instead of focusing purely on like theoreticals or models that you could try and employ, it's more about scalability, usability, security, incentives, user experience, and that kind of stuff. It takes decentralization from this thing that a bunch of PhDs got together and they built this crazy idea and these crazy systems, and it makes it something that we can all access. And that's the heart of what Koii is all about. It's making decentralization, DePIN, DApps, all that kind of stuff. It's making it as accessible as possible. I'm not sure if Ali might have some insight, though.
That's what I wanted to hear. Does anybody else have another take on it?
I have the same take on it, maybe a slightly different angle as well. But yeah, it's basically a balanced approach, in my opinion, based on the user's needs, right? At the beginning, early days, it was, ooh, this is really cool. Decentralize everything, every single layer. But when you work backwards from what the people actually need, and let's face it, we want to bring in more money and users and developers into the Web3 economy. Everybody benefits that way. So if you just work backwards from what the end person needs and you bring in decentralization that way, you are able to have a really practical approach that everybody benefits from. And that can be shown as billions or hundreds of billions over time of new money flowing into our ecosystem, which makes full decentralization where needed quite possible. And some of the main areas that we really like to focus on is federated learning, for example, having people share hardware. Right now, we're in a crisis of opportunity. Businesses are going nuts trying to get GPUs and they can't get them. Companies like Koii have tens of thousands of GPUs available to them, and they can have it be decentralized in a way that's needed. With your partners like Exabits, which have centralized security because they're in data centers, they have all of these other safeties that they would typically normally have. We can immediately make that available to Web2 businesses and such so that they can get onboarded onto Web3 transparently. And it really helps out with resiliency. Decentralized systems are typically a lot more resilient, and it allows us to make better use of hardware that's difficult to make that's just sitting there so everybody in the world can be incentivized in doing that. So having community, efficiency, and access to these things are some of the main use cases that we've seen for practical decentralization. And that's what we've been focusing on too, which is to make it very easy for Web2 businesses to onboard onto Web3 using the AI boom that we've all been waiting for, to have this boom that forces businesses to actually look at us in depth. So that's one of the more exciting parts that I'm looking at right now.
That's awesome. So, like, the importance around this practicality boils down to having it be not only relatable, but to have an easier way to onboard people. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely, because businesses in this case, which is what we're targeting at the moment, since they're going to bring the most value, they're going to bring builders, developers, and money into our ecosystem, which will benefit everyone. That'll raise the tides, and a high tide raises all ships. So in this case, as long as we can meet the data privacy and compliance needs, and make it easy for a business that deals with Python to bring their server on chain instead of just a smart contract and get those benefits, we are able to finally help bring the future into this. And the best way I saw to do this personally was Hal Finney's proof of work world and Nick Spazzo's trusted third parties or security holes. Hal Finney's vision for proof of work in the future really helps make these things come into a reality. And partners like Koii are the ones that can actually make it happen.
And then one other thing to add about this topic is also the fact that talking about practicality, making sure that there are standards around it to make it less costly and more efficient is something that we have also worked on building, because at the end of the day, if things are very complicated and very remote for people to easily pick up and launch, that makes it very difficult to enabling decentralization and also allowing for people around the world to be able to tap into helping to distribute the resources. So creating standards around the applications or the workflows that could be used to launch new dApps is also very critical around this topic.
Now, I'd also like to hear a bit more about the 3-3 game theory that's going on here. Can one of you delve into what the origin is here and how it comes into play for Koii moving forward?
The origin of the 3-3 theory, there's sort of two origins. You can take it all the way back to the prisoner's dilemma, if anyone's familiar with that. It's a thought experiment where basically you have two prisoners and they can either confess or stay silent. And the whole idea is if they both confess, then they both take 5 years. If one confesses and one stays silent, then one person has to be in prison for 20 years and one person's out in 0 years. And then if they both stay silent in this thought experiment, then they're both out in 1 year. So that's just like a classic thought experiment that's floating around in psychology and stuff like that, and philosophy. But then in crypto, there was a company, I believe they were called Olympus DAO. I think they were called Olympus DAO. And they made something called the OHM token, OHM, which was just another stable coin that they produced. And basically, they had this chart. And it was this idea that was basically like, okay, how do we create, what's the prisoner dilemma for crypto? And basically, it's instead of confessing or staying silent, in crypto, we have staking, bonding, and selling, or at least according to Olympus. And so basically, the 3-3 rule is basically how many points or actions you apply to a certain action you can take. For example, staking is a 3, a positive 3. Selling is like a -3. And then bonding is usually a 1. And so basically, you can make this little interesting chart that kind of gives you a recap that says, hey, a 3-3 implies a win-win situation for the environment. It's a situation where cooperation leads to this best collective outcome. And then people on the network derive maximum benefit from holding, staking, and participating in ways that enhance and support the ecosystem. There's this idea of a negative spiral too, where it's like if there's a sell situation, where everybody's selling and the network keeps on going down. So the 3-3 sort of game theory problem is basically how to optimize this win-win situation.
Now, how much did this have to do with the fact that one of the original people that framed this thought experiment in the 50s was called Melvin as well?
I can't say.
Yeah, if you're all curious, it's Melvin Drescher, I believe is his name, one of the guys that actually put this one together. But that's really cool. So the goal here is essentially to have a win-win. That's ultimately what we're going for, right?
Yeah, we're trying to create these win-win situations. And that's what a 3-3 is, a win-win.
So bring it back to Koii. Like, how does Koii implement these principles in its ecosystem?
The concept of decentralized node running, we ensure that the network is reliably decentralized. And this is actually the basis for a win-win situation. Because if someone owns the network, then there really isn't a win-win. Usually when someone owns the network, it's like a few guys walk away with hundreds and thousands of dollars because ultimately it was a centralized system and they didn't really set it up properly with the proper incentives and rewards. And that's the other part that Koii has. We have incentive and reward mechanisms that are designed to promote long-term engagement. And that's a real big part of this staking thing. You hear staking all the time with Koii. Well, stake is a big win in our 3-3. Because when you're staking, you're putting money in, or you're putting tokens into the system in a long-term exchange. And this is an optimal strategy because you can have an open market where you have this staked token platform, and stakers are rewarded with more Koii from the Koii treasury, if you will, based off staking into the system. And so you can see how this is sort of a mechanism that just promotes more and more staking, less and less selling. And the more that's staked into Koii, well, the better. And of course, this is backed by our decentralized system. We're not ultimately controlled by one governing interest. And then the community has governance. There's another part of the 3-3, in our opinion. It's a win-win because we win, Koii, but the community wins too. It's a distributed system that allows all the stakeholders in the network to have a say through the voting mechanism that Koii is built on. And I think those are really the three big pillars. I'm not sure if Melvis has anything else to add.
No, well, good points. That's captures it.
Now I learned why Ohm has had a 90% staking for all this time. It's because of this. Thanks. I actually don't know that.
Yeah.
That was definitely a cash cow last cycle. I'm not gonna lie, that was a very interesting place to be a part of.
You were there. Yeah, it's all about 3-3. It's all about win-win. It's all about getting more locked into the system. And that's why we have our KPL tokens too. So that just because Koii is going up doesn't mean you can't incentivize your community, doesn't mean you can't get rewards, and doesn't mean you can't do things now with your rewards, which is one of the cool, unique benefits of Koii, in my opinion.
Do explain, what do you mean you can do things with the rewards?
So we actually just launched a really, really cool new task. It actually just came out this week, so you might not have seen it. It's called the Reveri Field Compute task. And there's actually going to be another Reveri Field task that complements it. And both of these tokens are going to give out Sono. Sono is basically a token that is used to power a video game. It's called the Reveri Field Compute video game. It's a really interesting one. You can find it on Telegram. You can find it on Koii. I won't spoil too much, but the game revolves around a radio, and I'll leave it there. So the Sono token is basically going to be able to be used in the game to do more stuff, which is a really, really cool concept.
So basically, you're not going to tell us the details so that people go check it out. Is that what I'm hearing?
Basically, yeah, exactly. You got it.
Yeah, makes
One
sense.
for one.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, I would expect nothing less. But no, I was really curious about though, because you guys, it's so weird. Like I say weird, but it's great at the same time. Like Koii loves supporting people and making sure that they're not, essentially looking for competition, but instead partners. Like you guys really, like hats off to the way that you operate. You're not only looking for people to build, you're looking for them to grow. You want to make sure that this entire ecosystem improves. But given like the current landscape, like that's how you operate. How do you actually position yourself against other initiatives that are out there? Is there something unique, maybe a unique value prop that Koii has that others might not?
So the unique value proposition and what we keep echoing is Koii enables developers to hashtag crowd build, crowdsource, and crowdfund. And so we've built a holistic ecosystem that supports not just the developer side, but also on the supply side with a free node. We don't have any node sales, a free node that anyone could download, which optimizes their devices for idle storage data compete. And so from here, with any person building on a network, they can use any token that they want to incentivize the community. And if they do not have a token themselves, they can launch their own KPL token to do. And with this, we also have Koii Ocean, which is our accelerator, to help support these developers or protocols throughout the phases of go-to-market, in addition to fundraising directly from the community. And so a big difference between us and the other DePIN networks is that we enable the ability for the community to use any token to incentivize the supply side for what they need. And on top of that, too, we have a readily available and active community of over 90,000 node operators who are there to support. So, yeah, those would be the key things that I highlight. Oh, and then lastly, in regards to the tasks that can be developed, we have a developer environment with easy to use templates that I think within the coming few weeks, we'll launch it so that within a few clicks, people can launch their own tasks within the network and also launch their own utility tokens as well. So yeah, to answer your question, those are the key things that we bring to market. And I believe it's very, very unique and different from the other DPINs.
I completely agree as far as being unique, that's for sure. But let me ask you, Melvin, or maybe Avi, how has it been like when it comes to the feedback from the users and the people that are coming onto your ecosystem and going, wait, this is how we operate here? And trying this thing out, has it been positive? How are people feeling?
I get to talk about this a lot. I'd love to see, we have someone in from the ecosystem right here, and it's Ali. So I'd love to probe his thoughts.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Very sincerely. I owe a lot to Koii, a lot. When Al gave us his time last year, when he was beyond busy, he himself drew out on Figma for me how your consensus work, talked through how the consensus we're talking about could work. It could have felt like it's competition, but Al didn't care. He helped us out every step of the way. He gave us grants. He showed us how to do things where other people would have said, yo, get lost. We kept our focus on, because we saw AI is going to blow up and we're data specialists ourselves and we've been doing machine learning for a long time anyways. So we kept our focus on that. And we're really excited to bring our consensus onto Koii as well. It's going to take a while to build. And Al's also helping us out by vetting our consensus by running it on Koii at the same time. Honestly, no other partner have I seen this level of support, unless maybe they're like a major investor. And that's one of the reasons we were about, I think, 10% of testing during July of last year or so. It was purely because of the support Koii was giving us. So really, thank you guys so much for that and the trust and the help.
That was quite the shout out, not gonna lie. I am
Al deserves
curious.
it.
I could appreciate that for sure. I am curious. How easy has it been to use the system? It sounds as though you guys are gonna be going through your own process specifically with the team, but is it really easy for you to move forward with it?
We wrote our first jobs last July for Koii, two of them. One of them to send out the results to Slack, the other one to aggregate data across all the nodes. Original idea was to see the impact of news on charts. Because that's the one thing you're not going to get TA from the news unless there's insider trading and you got access to black pools and da 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 and so on. But no, news is the one thing that can just wreck your charts. So we were trying to see what news articles are the most impactful for trading. And that was the first task that we wrote. That particular team split up, but back then, when it was much harder to do Koii jobs, I had a gentleman who was 25 years old with anime profile photo, and he knocked it out really fast using Java. Really good job making it easy for them to do that without having to deal with smart contracts and such. And it's actually gotten even a lot easier, which really helps us onboard Web 2 onto Web 3. JavaScript and such are just languages that they're very good with. It's not a language I'm familiar with by any means, but the businesses are, and Python. So those were some really good, interesting, not interesting, but really good, useful things that we saw coming from Koii and our mission to bring in Web 2 into Web 3 seamlessly using AI impetus as the jumping board for them to come finally, because they're desperate. They are desperate for GPUs.
See, Kayla was talking about this, and I were talking about this last week, and it's so nice to just hear someone actually say it from the community. All the things that I said, it's actually wonderful. It's amazing to hear that you've had such a great time with us. And of course, we're super happy to have you. It's been a fantastic journey building all the stuff we've built with MUAI. I mean, to be honest, MUAI has helped Koii become better, help us make better task templates, help us make better communication, help us make better grant programs. So it's definitely been a real treat to work with them as well.
Thank you so much.
That's probably one of the best possible ways to showcase what your team can do as long as you have the right type of support. If you have a product that you're genuinely working on, and if you want to build out your own token and make sure that things can proceed in an orderly fashion with true support behind you, This is probably the best opportunity you're gonna get. Can't lie, Koi team, you guys are doing a pretty good job of it with that kind of praise. From there, when you guys were designing this, honestly, this kind of starting point for people, what made it so that way you thought that this was the easiest way to onboard people? What part of the process did you guys really have to sit down and think was the pain point for bringing on new crypto curious people?
I'll be honest, it wasn't necessarily just sitting down. It was talking with a bunch of community members. It was really pushing our tech through the stack and eventually seeing where it failed, where people got stuck. And we just, at Koi, we will work endlessly to make sure that if you ever feel frustrated, we're going to do what we can to make sure that you don't.
Yeah, it's been over 3.5 years of iterations. If you open your coin node, you see that we're at 9.3 now. So it's like the 93rd iteration of this node that we've launched. So it's been years and years of working with the community, doing research, and then also directly collaborating with the developers in the ecosystem. And that has also led to us building out the interactive developer environment so that it has a quick user templates and solutions to help them easily launch new tasks that can also double back and become utility tokens for them as well. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Do you find that some projects are maybe easier to help them get their feet off the ground when it comes down to what they want to be, whether it's a utility token or maybe they're honestly a little bit unsure with their initial vision? What do you feel?
I'd say no matter what your hurdle is, the first steps almost always look the same. It's always just about getting the task done, calling a few APIs, getting a little bit comfortable with what things look like, and that process is almost always exactly the same. It's always really easy to onboard people onto Koi, especially these days. We've done so much work to make it really, really easy. But at the same time, at Koi, we want to empower you to build a business. And businesses aren't necessarily built in a day. There are a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And we recognize at Koi, everybody has a different journey, and we're going to support you no matter what. So getting started, it's super easy. But where you want to go, I mean, it's up to you, but we will be there the whole time.
That's probably the best position to put yourself in as far as if you're trying to guide people with their projects, where they're going to be leading themselves in the future. I am curious, is there maybe a certain type of client that you guys prefer or are looking for to help showcase in the future?
Any client like MUAI, honestly, I mean, Ali's been amazing. Just the energy that comes off of a passionate founder is unmatched. So I don't really mind what you're doing as long as you're passionate about it and you see a better future as well. Let's not cause chaos here or anything, but as long as you have those two things, I think you're an excellent fit for Koi.
You're definitely leaving the board open for everyone here, I'm not going to lie.
I don't want to exclude anyone. I think that's the beauty of Koi. I was listening to a podcast from the founder of Shopify, which is a really big e-commerce website creation tool, if you don't know who they are. And he was basically saying, before I started Shopify, there were 40,000 total e-commerce businesses. Total. That's it. And that's because the only people who made e-commerce businesses were these really techie computer science guys. And it wasn't until he made Shopify, well, him and his team, of course, made Shopify that now there's, I think over 300 million e-commerce stores, thanks to solutions like that, that made it so it's not just about a particular group of clients who can make websites or apps on Koi. It's everybody can make websites and apps on Koi. No matter what your business is, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a dog walker, whether you're an accountant, whether you're trying to start the next Netflix, whether you're trying to make rocket ships that go to space, I think that literally all those use cases, I could find a way to get Koi to help you out.
Sounds like there's genuinely, again, a very open and broad board for everyone to get a piece of this, especially if you're looking for a team that's willing to support you along the whole entire way. Emu AI, I am curious, from your perspective, what has been, let's say, the most helpful piece of advice or instruction that you guys have gotten from the Koi team?
Oh boy, there's been a few. From the very beginning, Al helped guide the consensus by vetting it, showing us where the pitfalls might be, even though it might have been a competitor to him, right? Even though it might have been that, he helped us on that front. And then he's willing to bring in his game theory team to review it and so forth, all the way to Melvis a few weeks before Token 2049 says, hey, come to this event. It was the Supermoon pitch event, and they are by far the most professional, best pitching event, investor alignment meetings, and so on. And the best investor meetings we've had outside of like one or two that we've been working on for a year came out of that. So from technical implementation, investor relations, ooh, are you sure you want to take money from those guys? Check out X, Y, and Z that they've done, to, oh, how about come to this event instead? Those all came with working with Koii. So it's a lot more than you might be thinking, but do ask. If you remain silent, nobody knows. And a lot of times we don't ask, but with Koii, it's very open. So please reach out to them.
Man, that's so cool that Koi is snitching on the bad people in the space. I wish more people would be willing to do that.
And it's not it was never disparaging at all. It was check this out and see what you think and guide you to where the gremlins are. And then you see the gremlins and you're like, oh my God, never mind.
Yeah, I've been in the space a little too long to where I've seen that one too many times. And yeah, I like I said, I really actually do appreciate it when people point those things out, because it doesn't only impact that one project, it impacts the whole ecosystem. Because if we keep feeding, let's quote unquote, the bad people these kinds of opportunities, they're only going to get bigger. But as builders, as the people who are actually doing something meaningful in the space, we actually have an opportunity to stifle their growth and make sure that the people who are building the cool stuff around here that actually care are being elevated. So yeah, this is definitely a huge win. And to close off of what you said, if you don't ask, right? I've been having conversations this entire week about exactly that. It's not only if you don't ask. Most people don't ask. I mean, I can't tell you how many VCs I've been reading some emails from, and they're like, "We don't have this, you don't have that," but it's never asked. And when you are with people like Koi, you don't feel awkward having to ask those questions. You don't have to feel like you're out of place making those inquiries. And that is a huge deal, knowing that you have a partner that is actually going to be there for you, regardless if the question is about finances or if it's about building something out. Like that goes a long way.
To your point, I've got to share my first conversation with Al. I didn't sleep the night before. I worked on this consensus for about a year, trying to figure it out, starting over. And it was time to get the guy who vetted the Ethereum cryptography to review it. Well, Ollie, I am going to get my ass chewed out. I am going to get ridiculed, mocked, and this is going to suck. So just suck it up, make it better, and try again. Hell no. No, it wasn't anything like that at all. Al was so supportive immediately and understood it right away, too. So it was just really funny with the energy I went into that to the energy I went out with that.
Yeah, and to your point there, they really are selling what they want to get back, and that's what's happening time and time again. The people that I've seen work with Koi are just top of the line individuals who are actually creating value in the space, and they just want to elevate that. And when that happens, man, like it's a win for everyone involved. And yeah, I'm just thrilled that I get to actually speak to these guys on a weekly basis.
Really lucky for me to get to speak with them too. But yeah, imagine you wrote your first consensus, your very first one, and the guy who vetted Vitalik's cryptography is looking at it. Imagine the nerves that you're going with. You spent a year of your life doing this, and to get that immediate support was phenomenal. It was infectious, again, to use that word. The entire team got lifted up after that call.
That's definitely saying something. There's only so many opportunities where you get such high recognition for an immense amount of work. And it's from someone who genuinely understands the subject matter that they're reviewing. It's a different kind of feeling, and it's very hard to match, especially because you're not always sure if the person who you're about to basically release your baby to genuinely understands all the concepts and the time and effort that you put into it. It's incredible to hear that you were able to find that kind of gratification in the process.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for providing it.
You heard it, Koi. You got a exceptionally happy group over there, the whole entire team. So well done, Avi. Well done, Movis.
Thank you.
We take a lot of pride in it for sure. I think to quote Al, he said, the company that is the most trustworthy company in Web3 matters. That's a company that matters. And that's what Koi is trying to be.
And I can definitely get behind that message because it's true. If you're able to trust your company that you're working with, then it's going to go a lot further, especially in the world of Web3, where that's the main thing that we seem to lack at times when we're going into all of this. I am curious, though, as far as what Koi has going on next, are there any developments, anything for the community, maybe something around the beginning of December?
I was just going to say, it's pretty big news. It's pretty big news. So December 1st, yeah, that's Basically, we made the big announcement. Mainnet will be by then. Yep, Melvis said it here first. We're going to have some IDO partnerships coming real soon, and those are really going to kickstart everything here at Koii. Everything we've been waiting for, it's going to come, well, it's going to start right then, and I really hope that you guys are here to join us.
Yeah, and then one other thing that just came to mind as well is as the community is seeing their KPL tokens being launched, we've partnered with Allbridge to help us build a bridge solution so that different tokens can be bridged over. And with it too, the Deep Index will be launched to allow for people to freely trade and swap the different KPL tokens amongst one another. So that's another thing that'll be coming up within the mainnet TGE launch timeframe as well. So the DeFi ecosystem will be launching around that time.
Really, a whole ecosystem is going live before the end of the year. This is insane, Melvis.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It sounds like there's a lot of work that still needs to be done at the same time, but we're genuinely excited to host these space with you guys. And it is just about the top of the hour. So hopefully next time around we'll be able to hear a little bit more about what the ecosystem is going to unveil for everyone, and especially as we're looking at how you'll be able to trade your own tokens, how you'll be able to create your own tokens a little bit. And honestly, there's still a lot that goes on within the community itself. And I'm looking forward to hearing more, especially from MUAI and a few others out there that have been going through this process with the team. So genuinely, thank you so much, Melvis, MU, and Avi, and Ali, for joining us today. Action, you as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you guys next week.